Hello. Um, I'm Greg, and we are basically going to be doing a conversation series where we're discussing different topics around purpose, authenticity, values, things like that. We are Kenekt Digital. We're a marketing agency. Um, and we focus on working with organizations that have a deeper sense of purpose. And I think the impulse for these conversations is because from doing that, a lot of tensions come up. So it's interesting to explore those tensions through conversation. Um, and I think we're going to begin this series with discussing, it's kind of like an exploration of our values. So one that's come up is authenticity. So we're going to begin with that. So beginning with what's how authenticity comes into play in marketing and in business in general. How do we understand authenticity and everything that goes along with that? So yeah, we're just gonna have a conversation and explore it. It's kind of like like I don't know what our values are. I don't know if you guys know it, but I want to kind of find out through talking. So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
And I'm with Christina and Sergio today. So maybe you guys could tell me a little bit about yourselves.
Ooh, very nice. I'll take the reins. My name is Christina, and I work with Kenekt Digital, and I'm doing the social media, but I primarily focus on brand identity and figuring out the core values of a company and really, using that to tell the human story on social media with companies that we work with. And Yeah, I love it, and it's really interesting to be able to get to the core beliefs, not what you sell, but why you started the company in the first place, and that always really fascinates me. So that's me, Sergio.
Yeah, well, for the third time, this is Sergio. um, I'm the SEO expert of the agency, and yeah, I also have to say that I find it really interesting the fact that we can sit together and try to explore some ideas that you normally don't hear about from anybody else. Sometimes not even from other companies like our clients or even our competitors. And I think that it's very important to discover what are the core values of the organization, and know how you connect with the world. And so I think this conversation will help us figure out many things that will ultimately make us, I would think, better overall in many different aspects, as a business, as people, as a team. And so yeah, I'm really happy to be part of this.
Yeah.
So back to Greg.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, yeah, I think it's only through this kind of exploration that we actually can, yeah, understand it better and work with it. Yeah, so that's good. Cool. So I think we can just go straight into the topic. So it's around authenticity and marketing. So I think just to kick off the conversation, let's start with, are authenticity and marketing compatible? And if so, how do we reconcile those two? So that's coming off the back of basically that there's something to do with selling and marketing that involves, I don't know, presenting yourself a certain way, and also that you're kind of geared towards you're trying to sell something. So that's your like sort of prime like concern. But then how do you also take care of being authentic at the same time? So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, that's a really interesting topic, because I feel like it's changed over the years. I think at one point, and I am just as guilty as anybody else of thinking this, even about myself, was that marketing is like a dirty word. It's
Mhm.
you think back when you think of like a marketer or advertiser, you don't think of a storyteller. You think of, a used car salesman, you think of a door-to-door vacuum salesman, you think of like Cutco knives, really predatory
Yeah.
people coming, interrupting your lives, telling you half truths and lies about a product, about its benefits, and overselling what it is, or selling overpriced goods.
Yeah.
And and I think because of the internet now, marketing and authenticity have to be one and the same,
Mm.
because you can't lie about a product anymore. I mean, you can, but you're going to be found out really fast.
Mm.
Because social media, because internet, you used to, before the internet, you used to have to rely on the guy on the phone or the guy at your door to describe, this vacuum does everything. It'll clean up stains. It'll clean your couch. Like, this thing is amazing. And you just kind of took him at his word, or you
Mm.
didn't. And there was no other way to find out about the product. But now that you have the internet, and there's sites, and there's blogs, and there's, Facebook, Twitter, everybody is using the product, or whatever it is that they've bought, they're gonna give you their opinion about it on social media. And if you're lying to your clients or your customers, they're gonna know. They're gonna find out
Mm.
eventually. You can lie for a little bit, but for only so long. So I think you have to be authentic in marketing. I really do think that at this point you can't mislead people anymore.
Mm. That's interesting. Do you have any thoughts about, is that a kind of a recent development? Is that something that's just happened since the advent of the internet? And is it something, about the internet itself? Is it that social media now is used so widely so people can communicate more openly and review things? Is it like the fact that good review systems are set up?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the social aspect of buying and selling and marketing now. People are automatically giving their reviews about stuff, and I also think that it's really obvious. I'm going to throw not a company under the bus, but I'm going to throw a company, a marketing strategy under the bus.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of like multi-level marketing
Mm.
MLM companies, these shampoo companies, these essential oil companies that rely on like social selling. And I think that I've noticed with people that sort of shill these products, you can tell when they're lying about it. Like,
Yeah.
for example, like there's a certain company that sells like hair products, shampoos, hair oils, all that kind of stuff. And a lot, the thing, like, and people are called out on it over Reddit, over Twitter, over Instagram. But it's these girls that will say, oh, the shampoo made my hair amazing, look at this shine. But it's really obvious that they've like styled their hair. They've like
Mm.
straightened it or curled it, and they've put a whole bunch
Yeah.
of shine products in it. And it's like it's like, yeah, when I go to a salon and they do my hair looks amazing too. But it's not because of the products, it's because of the stylist did some stuff to my hair, magic.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
and to say that a shampoo did that to your hair is disingenuous. And then they get called out over social media over it, because yeah, it is when you're social selling, you have a large audience, but it's also a large audience that can see right through your bullshit if you're lying to people.
Yeah. But that's a really good point. And yeah, maybe Sergio, you have also something to say on this as well. But I just wanted to add in, because you mentioned about hair products, and I think this happens particularly in like health and wellness. And you
Mm-hmm.
also mentioned bullshit, and I think there's like this distinction between lying, where I think there's like a guy that wrote this book called like On Bullshit, where he like distinguished between lying, which is like where that it's not the case, but then you say the opposite. Whereas bullshitting is like, it's not like you even really care necessarily about the truth. You're just saying stuff to get towards your end. And I think, I think a lot. So whereas I think I have the feeling that if you're lying, you'll get found out really quickly. But I also have the sense that on the internet, especially at the moment, there's a ton of bullshit. So where it's like, it's not necessarily lies, but it's sort of like bending the truth here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where I feel tension personally is that it's kind of part. I guess one example. It's a bit more. It's a bit more subtle, but it's like if you're creating SEO copy, then you are optimizing for certain keywords and you're trying to get in certain you're basically trying to rank the page for certain things, and that's your prime motivation. And then you might sort of subtly throw like truth out of the window in order to get it to rank. And I'm thinking of like, I had like early on, I worked for like this agave company, and like they would just like, I don't think it's good for you, but they would like really emphasize the like low like sucrose content or whatever, low glucose, and it's like high in fructose, and they try and like emphasize how fructose is good for you and stuff, but it's not clear whether it's good for you or bad, but they would just promote that, right? And I would write that and they would promote it. So it's sort of like, it's bullshit, but you need it in order to optimize the page.
But I think one of the things that we're discussing now is just one aspect maybe of the entire idea of authenticity, which is to be truthful and trustworthy. It's just maybe one aspect of others. I don't know how many, but we can really see how sometimes you can use those all the tools that the internet has right now to manipulate the perception of people so that they think that you're trustworthy. And that's maybe a problem that it's in the hands of companies or agencies that do the work to maybe stop that from happening. And I think just like Christina said, is maybe in the short term, but always in the long run, those things will never thrive. And I think there is no point in doing things like that. But I wanted to maybe segue a little bit and go into the other aspects of authenticity, which is, can you be original? Can you still be, in a world that's always evolving, where people sometimes don't even know what they need or what they're looking for? How do you show the uniqueness about your brand and your products to the people out there? And how do you best use those tools to maybe to have more exposure, to be seen by the people who are like-minded? And how do you connect those two things? I think a big part of authenticity is allowing the brand or allowing your business to shine with its own light and be seen by the people who you want to be seen.
That's a really good point. As we were initially talking about the sort of truth side to authenticity, but there's also this sort of like showing who you are, or showing the most unique parts of yourself, something like that. Do you have any thoughts on how you do that?
I think based on experience, sometimes when there are many new businesses, and now especially during these times of coronavirus, there will be new services, a lot of new services, maybe even new products that will supply people, or will try to serve people under the new conditions. And so you will see a lot of novel, a lot of new stuff that it represents a challenge to to agencies to even market, to put out there and to be seen. And I think because of the how can you be authentic, original, and still be found by people even if they don't know what you're offering or they don't understand? And so how do you reconcile those things? I think that's going to be the main challenge for the next, I would say, even for the future. How do you communicate those things? How do you structure an idea or a product or a service in a way that allows people to understand it, find it, explore it?
Yeah.
And I've been thinking a lot about that, and I think it's one of the challenges that everyone will face.
Interesting. And you mentioned that there are like new types of product or service, different types that would need to be marketed. Do you have any examples or like general ideas of what they are?
I'm thinking about something specific. No, nothing comes to mind right now, but I know that because of the current conditions, there will be new quite possibly new services.
Yeah.
For example, how the delivery for groceries will start to maybe, it's taking off now,
Yeah.
and people are starting to use more of those services.
Yeah.
Things of this nature that
Okay.
only emerge when new needs. Yeah, when you're facing different conditions, different circumstances, then businesses will start to provide different services, new services that maybe sometimes you're not aware of.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like it's like it's such a fast changing world and there's so many new things that, like, the types of company that pop up now are so varied. There's that example of like sort of delivery, grocery stuff taking off, especially in Corona. But like whereas previously a lot of services were goods focused, now you have also tons of stuff which is more focused on like learning and on health, like mental health, like tons of like coaching stuff, which is like it's not like a physical thing, it's like a mental thing, which is also different to market.
I've noticed that like companies that are already well established are also coming up with services that are, geared towards a large group of people working from home. Like I noticed, just funny you should ask for an example, because I was sending someone I use like an online calendar app to send off to people to make appointments, and they have a feature now that I hadn't noticed before. Maybe it was there, but it was like right at the bottom, or like now it's a very prominent feature where you can send not a link to schedule an appointment with you for one person, but for multiple people. And I was thinking like, okay, this is companies that are now all working from home, but you still have to have meetings with 5 people, 20 people, a whole team of people, you have to schedule for multiple people, or like
that's
professors that are like trying to schedule with a whole bunch of students and for like a certain time to meet for everybody. And I was like, oh wow, I hadn't noticed that before. And maybe it's always been a feature, but I haven't noticed it. And now I'm picking up on how companies are putting prominent features that are like, for people working from home, for mental health, for learning how to stay motivated when you're working from home or working from a laptop, and so I've really picked up on that now. Maybe I'm looking for it, or maybe the companies are just now starting to come out with it, but it's interesting.
No, I'm sure they are. I haven't noticed too much myself, but that solution to like multiple meeting scheduling, that is just, oh man, that's so useful. That's so useful. It's so annoying to try and schedule for like multiple people, but
Yeah, exactly. It's annoying to send a link to multiple people, you know, might as well just send the same link to like 50 people. So yeah.
So if you know, if one of these companies, they need to get themselves out there, yeah, let's say it's like the delivery grocery delivery type of thing. It's like a health box or something like that. How would they do that authentically, and how could they do that not authentically?
I think when you say not authentically, is sometimes it's a question of how much do you have to sacrifice of your own, the way that you do things in your own business, so that you look more like the ones, you know, like your competition that already has something to offer to a specific audience, and so you try to be more like them.
Okay.
I think you then sacrifice a little bit of who you are and what you do and why you do it. And I think that's what we're trying to do in this in this conversation. You know, how do you reconcile, like, can you stay true to your own values and vision and the why you do things, without having to go to the other, you know, to deviate too much from those core values to start to sell things? Can marketing actually help those businesses to not do that and rather be unique and authentic? And I think the answer is yes, you can actually do that. The world is very complex, and now it's even, you know, you don't see as many borders as there were like 20-30 years ago. You can actually produce so many different solutions to different problems, and actually as we move forward in time, we see that the level of complexity in business is just increasing, which creates opportunity to develop new tools and new products. And you will always have an audience. You will always have people that think the same way, that maybe have seen the same problem, and they need your solution. And so I think the challenge is how we find the way to get to those people, and for them to also find more easily the business and the solutions. I think that's the new challenge.
Yeah, that's this that's an interesting one. You raised around authenticity is sort of like this like kind of how much do you emulate or how much do you copycat another company or companies that do it well already in order to get success, versus sticking to your sort of your unique self, something like that. That's an interesting one, because I think that's sort of like that matches to the idea of like fitting in versus belonging. And then fitting in is like which are actually two like polar opposites, and fitting in is basically changing yourself to fit into a group of people, and belonging is being yourself like authentically, and then finding people that fit that. And then there's also because it's interesting, because that tension comes up as well for me, because like we had the whole CSI thing. We made a tool, and then like we started to really base it on like how like companies normally brand themselves for that type of service. And it was like really corporate, and like our website was like super corporate, and like I was like, okay, this is what we need to do. But I was very sad. I was like really like so sad to be under that banner, until a point where we just like we had a talk with each other, and we're like, I was like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can, be under this banner. And then we had a great meeting. We decided to completely overhaul it, become data astronauts, and now it's way better. Yeah.
I think it can be really, you mentioned like you have a product, it's good, and then you have to figure out how you want to come across to other people. and, you know, while staying true to yourself. And it's a really difficult balance to strike, I think. You know, I struggled with that when I was first, you know, starting out my entrepreneur career, as it were. You know, I know how I represent myself, and then I also know how I might come across to other people that are trying to give me large amounts of money to manage their social media, how they come across to the world. That's a big job. And I need to come across as trustworthy. I need to come across as professional. I need to come across as being an expert in what I do. And how do I, you know, I mean, sometimes my appearance may not strike that, you know, in people. Like, you know, sometimes I dye my hair blue and I have a nose piercing, and, you know, and you never know how you come across to people until you find that balance of like not trying too hard to be something that you're not, and but still, you know, but still letting people know that, like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. You can trust me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's really hard. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
I've struggled with it. And yeah, I think
for sure. I think, yeah, as you mentioned, like, especially as you just come into the field, it's like, I feel like there's got to be a time delay, because you can't just come into the field and then be fully, wholly, uniquely yourself, right? You have to fit in, because you just don't know the rules of the game. And yeah, that's the sense I had.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. It's funny because you do, and then you have like an idea. I don't know if you, Sergio, or you, Greg, have dealt with this, but you have like an identity crisis because, you know, you come in like guns blazing, like, I'm awesome, hire me, you know, and you're like, and you talk, and you're like your authentic self, and you're like, this is how I want to come across. This is my brand. And then like, and then people won't hire you. People won't hire you. People won't hire you.
Yeah.
And, or you know, and it may not have anything to do with how you present yourself, but just where they're at in their company at the time, and you just have bad luck. And so you try to fit the mold of other brands that are doing. And I know I did this. I would like go on other people's websites that were doing the exact same thing that I was doing, all these other social media marketers, all these big time agencies, and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to design my website exactly like how they have theirs, and I'm going to like use their content as inspiration for my content. And, you know, I might even adopt a certain look. And then I was thinking, well, I hate this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're touching on the two extremes of the entire spectrum. So you can either be extremely creative and have something that's very, very unique and no one knows about it, and then no one will ever understand it.
Yeah.
And then that'll cause a problem, that because people don't understand what you can do with your solution, or, you know, what you're offering, then they won't buy it.
Right.
Or you look so much like the others that, yeah, maybe there are some benefits to it, but then you start to sacrifice your inner needs to you know, still be somewhat original.
Right.
Because I think we all do things wanting to do things our own way, and experience the world through our own views, and then if you go too much to the other side, then you're just becoming a copycat.
Yeah,
that's true.
So it's finding, I think, the perfect balance between those two, and try to fit in the world without sacrificing too much of who you are, and that might serve those, you know, those needs of selling, being productive, and all those things, but also at the same time feeling like you're true to yourself.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, you know, one of the things that happened to Kenekt was that we started to find or be found by brands or businesses that care more about purpose, when we stated that we care about purpose. And I think that we connect so well with them every time that we speak to them in a meeting, or even from the very first sales meeting. We kind of have that feeling whether this thing is gonna work or not, and it's because of that, like, our common grounds is always in the purpose
Mm.
And I think we've experienced that somehow. Like, yes, of course, we're still trying to market our own services as a digital marketing agency, the traditional way, the way it works, but we offer it in a very unique way.
Yeah.
That's at least my opinion. I don't know what you guys think.
I agree. I think when we started, it was like when we started actually putting that messaging out there, then it attracted certain types of company to us, and then we could start to speak and engage on that level, and then it started to create this loop of like this feedback loop of like, okay, there's people that like this way of talking, way of thinking, and then we can do more of it. And then yeah, I totally agree, and it's great that we found that. Before that, to get to that stage, it took a very long time because and this is what Christina was touching on as well, that if you come into this into a certain environment, and I think in marketing in general, it tends to be a quite the mindset tends to be quite results focused, or like profit focused. So you can come in and you don't have the confidence yet. So if you bring up these ideas, then people think you're stupid, or people think you're like just your head is in the clouds, like your head's like totally up your ass. Like I had we had mentoring calls with like salespeople and stuff like that, and like sort of trying to voice these things, and they would just be like, that's not how the world works, young boy. But yeah, but then it was sort of like after putting a couple of things on the website, then it started to get people coming for it, and then little by little we grew in confidence, I think, in this speaking about this.
And that affects. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, well, just real quickly, I was gonna say that I think that's why, and that's it. Like, and that's really the solution to authenticity in marketing. If you find that common ground, and it's something that is other. Of course, money, marketing is about money, right? Like most people think, and that's why you run into a lot of these like sales coaches and business coaches, and they're just like, I mean, how growth and numbers and percentages and and that's what it's really all about. But when you find somebody that believes in something more than that, and something that with a deeper purpose, then you feel comfortable promoting their products because they're coming from a place of wanting to help people.
Yeah.
And that's the really authentic part of that marketing. Go ahead, Sergio.
Yeah, no, the one thing that I wanted to mention is that having those things clear can definitely affect the way that people outside of your organization knows you, and the perception that they have about who you are as a business. But it also affects the people working within that organization. So I think that the team I think that many things changed for the internal team, and how we all work and how we organize ourselves, and the way that we try to have our own processes. Everything is around that idea, is surrounding that idea.
Yeah.
And it aligns many different elements. It's yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I think when we started to communicate about it internally, then that's when things started to click as well. I remember one brunch we had where it was like, because we'd loosely talked about purpose and stuff before, and then Sergio brought up this talk about the what, the how, and the why. And I think for some reason that just made it, we had like a language to talk about it, and then we were all like, the why, and then that became much more internalized, and something that we use more with clients as well, which is quite nice.
I remember that brunch as well. And it was funny because as soon as we all heard the section on the why explained, everything in our company just like took off from that point. Like I remember we were like, okay, we need a brand tone of voice doc with this why, and then like emails with why, and you know, why are we doing what we're doing? Not the what, but the why. Like that became quite the and still is the obsession in our company. It's not what you're selling or, you know, even why you started your company. Like a lot of people, why'd you start your company? Well, I wanted to, you know, sell this thing. So you started a company to sell the thing. Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. Like that's what a business is you're selling something.
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah.
And sometimes you really got to pull it out of people, you know?
Yeah. 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 It's interesting. I think in a lot of cases there is a deeper why, but it's almost like people need permission to actually talk about it. So I remember when you first sent me that questionnaire about, for us, like what's the why behind what we do, and like I wrote tons of stuff that I just never talk about with people. I was like, oh my God, that's like, didn't know that was in there. And I think sometimes when you talk to people and you ask them, why are you doing something? They give the answer that they think they're supposed to give. So like, this is what people normally say in business. So I'll talk about numbers and stuff like that. But then if you prompt more, then you can find in a lot of cases this deeper sense of why.
Yeah, and I think when you give your deeper sense of why, we have this, like, especially in like business owners, I think they're kind of closed off from their deeper purpose of why, you know, like because you ask someone and they say, like, if they give their real reason, you think they're gonna think you're full of shit, you know, like, oh, I do this because I want to change the world, and I, you know, people would say, okay, well, what are you, 17? or Miss Universe? Like, you're
Miss
giving
Universe.
a bullshit answer, you know? Like, I just want world peace, and I just want to, like, you know, like, change the world. Like, and you say that initially, or like I think a lot of people think that if they say that kind of stuff, that higher purpose, that really like lofty goal, this, you know, this thing, that people are gonna laugh, or people are gonna like, oh really?
Yeah, and so a lot of people will laugh. That's part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or they'll go, okay, yeah, but really, you want money? You really started this because you know the money's good? And it's like, no, why does it have to be that way? Sure, if the money's good, like, money obviously can buy freedom and happiness, and I do think money can buy happiness, but, you know, in a certain regard, if it can buy you freedom, then to make choices and to have, you know, power to you know, make your own decisions and do what you want, that that is happiness, of course, and money can provide that. But I think a lot of people do have an idealized sort of version of why they started the business. No one just looks at themselves as like, well, I just want to make money. Like, no one looks at themselves that way. Maybe a few people, maybe Trump, maybe a couple of people, but like, you know, because they hold that as their purpose, is to look powerful, to look rich, to look, you know, to run in elite circles. Maybe some people do want to do, you know, maybe that is the main purpose, but I don't believe most people are like that. I think most people have a genuine and altruistic reason for starting their company. And but they're embarrassed to say.
Yeah. What do you think, Serge?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I agree, of course. I just, I'm lost within the idea of how these things that we're discussing can also affect. You know, we've been speaking about the businesses, the agency, but it's so rooted in the very nature of the individual. Like, we all experience all these type of challenges, and how we want to fit in the world, and how we want to show ourselves as true, you know, as original or authentic individuals. And I think it's a good exercise to try to find your place in the world, and how, well, it can be marketing, it can be anything, how those things can or those ideas can guide you to the destination that you've set for your own self.
Yeah,
it's a good way to discover those things in the middle of conversations like this. Even though we're discussing business and marketing, it can still be related to all the very important things of the being.
Yeah, you can hold both of them. Doesn't have to be either or. Yeah. I have and this is something that comes up now because we're working with companies with a deeper sense of purpose. So that where the why can be quite important for them, and that means that they are looking for, when they do present themselves online, they are looking to produce something authentic. But then we come in and then we do their marketing for them. So it's like we become a voice for them. And then how can we as a outsider coming in voice their voice authentically? I think that's kind of a problem that we're working on at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've been doing this for almost all of our clients. We're doing this at the moment. We're helping them figure it out, because we're not trying to speak on their behalf. We're just trying to project their voices. But they're lacking this this very important part of the message, because maybe they've only focused on what the product is to the highest level of the resolution that they can conceive. But there's still more, more. It's also a low resolution idea. You only give a certain amount of information to the people about what you do or what you offer. But it lacks the flesh. It lacks the, why is it exactly that you do this to begin with. And the moment that we help them figure out all those missing parts of the message, then the message becomes so much stronger, and then suddenly we start to see the result.
True.
And I've seen that happen over the past few months.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and I think we talked earlier about wanting to put your best foot forward and wanting to present yourself a certain way, how you see yourself. But reality is different for other people, I think, and your clients are going to see you a certain way. Your friends, your family, your partner sees you a certain way, and it's probably not how you see yourself. Maybe it's closely aligned, but not exactly how you want yourself to be seen. And so I think it, as Sergio was saying, it's really important for a company to, there's so many different facets. There is the product, but then there is the story behind it, and there is the benefit that, the client story, how the clients see your company from the eyes of what it was able to do in their life. And and I think that that's a really important story to tell, is to look at it from all angles. And I think it's a hard job. But what we're aiming to do, what we're trying to do, hopefully what we're doing currently, is to pull those stories out and look at all the facets of what a product is doing, why a company is helping a community or people, or a group of people, or an industry or whatever. And once you really tell that story, I think it the greater purpose in their company becomes a lot more apparent, not just from their perspective as like the CEO, but also from the client's perspective, from potential customers' perspectives.
That's a really good one, actually, Christina. Like, it's and this ties into, I think, what we were speaking about earlier about the different types of products, like that. I think you can get caught up on, like, you have a particular idea of what your product is in a company, and and I think this relates to the what, how, why thing, right? So then a lot of people are just really focused on this what, this what the product is, and then like what it does maybe. And then I guess part of it, and part of some of what we've been doing is to almost broaden that circle out to the how and the why. So then the view of what a product is actually is much bigger, right? Because it's the, you know, it's the kind of the communities it impacts, it's the impact it has on the world, it's how the people understand it. It's like this kind of broadening of the story, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the message has so many different components, and that's something that sometimes businesses forget about. They focus too much on, yeah, I sell this product, but it's also the impact that the product has. And so also figuring those things out, like sometimes it can be a very similar product that your competitor is producing, but the way that you implement it, the results that it gets, that your, well, that their end user gets out of the product may differ vastly from the competitors. And then there's something useful about it, there's something worth mentioning and communicating to the audiences, that will be always the key to showing your own authenticity, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And, you know, and then there's like, I was thinking about, a couple of past clients that I've had that, you know, they have a service, like, I'll just use an example. Summer space camp for kids. And, you know, of course, like when someone's looking to buy into this summer camp, you know, kids are excited about it, parents are excited about it, but for totally different reasons. And you as a marketer, it's not even, it becomes less about advertising and more about telling the story of what these different clients see in this product. Like, parents are like, great, cool, I can send my kid away for a week, I have a week of, you know, having the house to myself and getting to have date nights. And, you know, I'm not just sending them to like a horse riding camp or whatever. Like they're going to learn. It's like a science camp. They're going to be well prepared for next year.
Launch your kid off to space.
Yeah.
For a week.
Rocket launch your kid to the moon. Bye, child.
Really?
Won't miss you. No. Sorry. I love children. But it like, so you have there's the learning aspect, there's the free time aspect, but also like your child is going to make friends. They're going to be more confident. They're going to be used to learning in an environment. Even if it's over the summer, they're going to be better prepared for school. There's so many things, you know, not just, and so, yeah, you kind of have to not only appeal to the parents, but you also have to appeal to the kids, because the kids are going to try and, you know, ask for whatever, you know, they're going to ask their parents for things. So there's like multiple layers of who you have to really talk to on that level, and understand their problem and understand why they're, you know, why they may be interested in this in the first place, what kind of problems it solves. And it's like super multifaceted.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
I think the advantage of the storytelling is that you can add so many different messages within just one story, that it just conveys a lot of messages, different information, that sometimes there's no point in doing that, like, you know, objectively. But a story gives you the advantage of showing all the different aspects and all the different implications of that one service, product, what you're offering. It can just tie everything together into one idea, one story, and then that's sometimes easier to digest. And I think that's also why we have now so many tools that enable people to share stories more than anything else.
That's a good point, actually. Like you have this stories and like your Facebook and Instagram feed, and
And I think maybe we're coming from that world where being authentic was a threat to the progress of the business, to a point where you need to be authentic to be able to compete and to survive. Because if you're too similar, too much of a copycat, then it's not sustainable. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. I also get the sense that that at the moment there is just so much bullshit, and that people are actually, it's like there's like bullshit fatigue almost, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
like people are just tired of it. Yeah. So you actually, yeah, you just can't play that card anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying not to use company names of things just in case, I don't want like anyone coming after us, but,
Walmart.
I know, right? Walmart sucks.
Oh, our
Oh
first podcast, and we're getting sued.
no.
Shit.
But speaking of authenticity and representing yourself in it, so I don't really watch a whole lot of YouTube, but I there's a couple of YouTubers that I really like, and sometimes I only learn about them because they're caught up in like some sort of weird drama or whatever. But I think there are a lot of YouTubers that started out really authentic. And that's why they have such a huge platform, is they have a quirky personality, or they're funny, or they just genuinely sit down in front of a camera and review products that they like, not because they're an influencer yet. They become an influencer by genuinely reviewing products that they like, and then because of their influencer status, they get, sponsorships, buy products that then they have to talk about. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's this weird cycle of like authenticity and inauthenticity.
Mm.
And like, and I notice it with online. So like, even though, going back to the beginning of the podcast when I said, oh, I think authenticity and the internet have kind of like changed how marketing does, how we do our business, but I also think that there's a weird cycle of it too, like and I hate influencer marketing, for the record, but because of this, because
Yeah.
people know eventually, when you have a platform big enough for being authentic and being truthful and being genuine when you're using a service, and you're like, I love this, whether
Yeah.
it's makeup, whether it's, who knows, whether it's food, whether it's whatever, like, people trust you, and then you get enough platform to where you're paid to say that you like something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a good point. I think that highlights this feeling of tension that I get in this field, because like, and you also see that with podcasts, right? Like, for me, it's the worst. Like, you listen to a podcast and it's just everything's laid bare, and like they're just having a normal conversation. But then once you reach a certain point, you've got like, they have to advertise products before the show, and then it's just, oh man, sometimes it's like the saddest thing to hear, when it's the case of like someone that was like truly like no bullshit authentic, and then they have to do like a 5 minute like review of a product which they clearly don't care about. It's just
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah, and it's really, it is very frustrating to hear that, yeah, because you like, it takes you out of that conversation, like, and I think that's why people like podcasts so much, or YouTubers, or because it feels like you're sitting down with your favorite group of friends, and you're talking about stuff, or you're listening to their opinions, and you really respect them a lot, and you're talking, and well, at no point in a friend conversation are we going to be like, and now here's a message from our sponsor, Squatty Potty, like, or whatever that, like, podcasters.
Maybe that's next.
I
It's just
know,
like
I know. Oh,
insane guerrilla marketing, like mass guerrilla marketing, like everyone's marketing a product in their everyday life. And it's
I know. Oh, social selling. I hear this a lot too, where it's like, oh, you're just giving a review of a product that you like. I mean, you would do the same thing if you saw a movie that you really liked and you would
yeah,
recommend it to friends, but there's a difference, there really is a difference. And you can always tell that there's, that difference when you're
yeah,
listening to it. And yeah, it does kind of take you out of, oh, I'm just listening to my favorite people in my living room talk on a podcast, to, oh, fuck, they're bought and paid for. Aw.
yeah. It's it's a tricky one, because I guess like you like you idea, you don't want people to sell out, but then you can't get around the fact that money makes things happen, makes the world go around. And then it's just this tension between the two, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And that's why just like with influencer, marketing and just any advertising in general, like you eventually do have to just do it. I mean, yeah, for sure, like being authentic and stuff like that will get you your platform, and people will see that and be, feel invited into that world, because you're weird, you're quirky, you have a personality. People really like to hear you talk about stuff because you're so relatable. But eventually you do have to, in order to sustain yourself and your lifestyle, or you pay your rent, buy food, you have to eventually end up advertising in some way, or taking money, or taking sponsorships, or whatever. And yeah, I mean,
yeah, tricky one.
I don't think that those things hurt necessarily. Like there's ways of managing those things so that you're still being a trustworthy person or business. You can still have sponsorship that boosts your brand and gives you more money to function, but it's a question of, I would say, values, and if you're being surrounded or sponsored by other businesses or people with the same good intentions that you have, and it just comes down to the specifics. If you're working with a brand that's not trustworthy to sponsor as a sponsor, then it's a risk that you are taking, because if the market knows that the one that you're the brand that you're promoting in your own platform isn't trustworthy, then your trustworthiness will be affected, and people will not come back for more.
That's true.
And so, yeah, it's all about values. It's about yeah. It's not that marketing cannot be trustworthy.
Yeah.
It's the people. It's more than because marketing is just a tool.
That's true. Yeah.
It's a collection of techniques, and so it comes down to the individuals and the core values of a business more than the marketing. Marketing can be used for good things or for bad things.
That's
I think that's where we should bring the attention to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah. So you can definitely be authentic and sell and make profit.
Woo! I think so. We've been talking for an hour. I'm thinking maybe that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
Unless you guys have something more you want to discuss.
No, I think we wrestled with the idea, and we came to, I don't know if we really came to the bottom of the whole topic, but
no, we solved it.
But some good questions. And yeah, we've solved some good questions.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a good first run, and
this was fun. This is really good.
Yeah. Not looking forward to editing this and hearing my voice back, but
Yeah, no kidding. Haha, good luck. Well,
cool. Well, do we want to say any closing statements, or shit, I didn't think about how to wrap this up. You gotta have like a good wrap up line. Like
no, I didn't either. It's kind of one of those like weird, sort of awkward things where it's like, I gotta go grocery shopping now, so I'll catch you later. Yeah, good chat. All right. Oh no, my computer's dying.
Yes, exactly.
I'm hungry, getting too hungry. So
nice.
Exactly.
Nice. All right.
Finger guns.
Let's end with a couple of finger guns. Catch you all on the flip side.
All right.
Catch you on the flip.
And recording.